Many of you know that I live in a rainforest. That means just about every other day, if not every day, it is raining. Because of that, having a fire, a campfire, is oftentimes a real challenge. Inside of this bag here, everyone, I have a kit that I've put together that makes my camping and overland trips exceptionally easy. This is what I refer to as my campfire kit. And inside of this, I have everything that I need to get a campfire going, all of which without the need of dry firewood. Let me show you all what I have inside of this so you can understand what I'm talking about. By the way, everyone, just in case you don't know, my name is Luke. This is the Outdoor Gear Review. Thank you so much for tuning in. Up here at the top, I have a fire kit. And inside of this fire kit, I have everything that I need to get a fire going. I have a lighter, a torch, matches, ferro rod, a bellows, and so on. Inside of here, I have a mesh fire pit, and also a compressed fire log. And lastly, in this pocket here, I have smaller compressed fire logs. These larger compressed fire logs are designed to burn for 3 hours, and they're perfect when there's no firewood or when everything is wet. These smaller compressed logs are designed to burn roughly 30 minutes, and they work great when you want to get a fire going with, like, say, damp materials. Let's say that a light rain came through, or maybe like everything's drying out and you want to get your fire going. This here works perfectly. I will take a second here and I will show you all how this fire pit goes together. This is pretty cool. With this system, you have two main components, a frame system and a wire support mesh top. With the frame system, it is made of stainless steel, and all of the legs and the support bars fit on the inside, which is rather smart. You have 4 legs and 4 support bars. All of which go together really easily and also quickly. Once you have the stand put together, now you can attach the mesh top. And just like that, you have a fire pit that is ready to go. If you've never used a fire pit like this before, you may be wondering, why would anybody even fool with something like this when you have a fire pit on the ground? There's numerous reasons why. First off, fire pits like this are exceptionally efficient. That means you're going to burn every piece of wood to its maximum heat output. That means that a fire pit like this releases more heat. Heat that can be felt by more people and in more ways. Because fire pits like this are so efficient, you can burn even damp or wet wood. It dries everything out super quickly. And that's because if you get a flame going, if you get a fire going, that fire has all the oxygen that it needs. In situations where you would struggle with damp or wet firewood, you can easily get a fire going with something like this. Not only that, these fire pits work great with compressed logs. In the description box down below, you will find a link to my review of this product. This is an excellent product. I highly recommend it. It's super inexpensive and it works incredibly well in a lot of different situations. With all of that being said and shown, let's focus on the main purpose of this video. And that's to talk about these compressed logs. When it comes to compressed logs, compressed fuel, I can't say whether or not these products are available overseas. I just simply do not know. At least in the United States, Duraflame is basically a household name. You may not have used any of their products, but you've heard of the name brand before. They make compressed fuel like this. They also make heaters and so on. With that being said, in this episode, we will be talking about the different versions or variants of the Duraflame logs that the company makes, because the company offers a wide range of these compressed logs. For example, the company has 6-pound logs that will burn for 4 hours. They also have 4.5-pound logs that will burn for 3 hours. And that is what we have here. This is a 4.5-pound log that will burn for 3 hours. Additionally, the company has 2.5-pound logs that will burn for 1.5 hours. And then, of course, they have the small, tiny little blocks that you see here. These are 4.5 ounces, ultra lightweight, and each one of these will burn for roughly 30 minutes. We're not done. The company also offers additional types of compressed logs. They have one that will crackle like a real piece of burning wood. I've never tested that one. In fact, I've never actually seen that one on a store shelf before. Going back to the 4.5 pound log. This is the premium version. There's also a regular version. The company claims that this burns brighter and bolder than the regular version. Whatever that means. Duraflame also has a compressed log that they call the Every Night. Those are 2.5 pound logs. And while I haven't seen these before in person, the sales pitch, the marketing behind this is cringy. Listen to this rubbish. This is what Duraflame has written concerning these Every Night logs. This log is for the weeknight warrior, those who don't wait for the weekend to heat things up. They seize the day and make every night special. That's interesting. I'm pretty sure I've heard the same sales pitch about a pack of cigarettes before. Now let's compare that to some marketing nonsense that I came up with concerning a pack of cigarettes, okay? Tell me that they don't sound similar. Our special blend entices the senses while letting everyone around you know that you're someone special. You seize the moment, day or night, and nothing is going to stand in your way. Duraflame cigarettes. While funny, their marketing is just pure slop. Incredibly weird. Anyways, moving on. Let's talk about why you would use one of these compressed logs and how they benefit you, how they benefit people like us, campers, right? We're going out for a camping trip or an overland trip. How would a product like this benefit us? The easiest way to get started when talking about the benefits of using a product like this is to explain why I use them. There's a reason. As I mentioned before, I live in a rainforest and finding dry firewood can be difficult, if not impossible. And because of that, I went out looking for a substitute, and that's when I found these Duraflame logs. Please know this, I've never spoken to Duraflame. This is not a sponsored video. I do not care if you purchase these or not. I'm just trying to make your life nice and easy. I'm going to save you a ton of time, a lot of effort, while at the same time making your camping trips really, really fun and effortless. With that being said, using a product like this when everything in the forest is soaking wet is really nice. All you have to do is take 1 or 2 of these, put them in your fire pit. It could be a wire fire pit like this, or a fire pit on the ground. You can light up the paper, and just like that, your fire has been started. It's that simple with one of these logs. Not only do these give you the option of having a fire when a fire isn't likely, but let's say that you're in a popular camping area where there's simply no firewood left in the forest. It's been picked clean. Again, you can use something like this. Each one of these will burn for 3 hours straight. You could buy a case with 6 logs in it, and you could have a fire going the entire time that you're out. And not once did you have to go out into the woods and process firewood. Also, you didn't have to bring firewood from one location into another, which is highly frowned upon. It's not only frowned upon, but oftentimes illegal, and you can be fined for doing so. You may be wondering about cooking over these. Well, according to the company, you can cook over these as they're completely non-toxic. And here's another reason why you may want to use something like this. Let's say that you go camping in an area that has a lot of venomous snakes. Well, you don't have to put yourself at risk by going through the forest, going through the brush, the tall grass, looking for firewood. You have an instant fire ready to go. So in other words, it can keep you safer. With the 4.5 pound logs, this measures 11 inches by 4 inches. And of course, this weighs 4.5 pounds. You can buy these individually or as bundles. A bundle consists of 6 in a box. And again, these burn for 3 hours. Concerning price, that is going to vary depending on where you decide to purchase these at. At the time of filming on Amazon, the going rate for a 6 count is around $40. If you go to the store, such as Walmart, you can usually get a case of 6 for around $27. The reason why Amazon is so expensive is because basically you're paying for the shipping. Each one of these is 4.5 pounds. That means that a box of 6 is 27 pounds. That's a lot of weight. Now everyone, let's take a second here and let's talk about my experiences with using the Duraflame logs and the different versions. So again, this is the premium log here, wrapped in black paper. Supposedly this burns brighter and it burns bolder than the other version. The yellow version comes in a yellow box and the paper is yellow. I have personally used both, the regular and the premium. I can't tell a difference between this and the other one. Let's say that one week I go out on a trip with a regular log and the next week I take a premium. I cannot tell a difference between the two. Maybe if you had them side by side burning at the same time, you could tell a difference, but trip to trip, I can't. So I've used the regular, I've used the premium, and I've also used the little 4.5 ounce versions. These are great when you have lots of firewood that may be damp, right? Firewood that could give you just a little bit of trouble to get going. You put this down first, little stuff, larger wood, and the wet stuff on top. You light this at the bottom, it dries everything out, and you can get a fire going. Additionally, you can actually take these backpacking. The 4.5 pound logs, you would not carry this. But these 4.5 ounce logs, you definitely can. You can throw a bunch of these inside of your backpack. It doesn't weigh you down at all. And you can have yourself a really nice campfire. I would recommend at least 6 inside of your backpack to give yourself a nice campfire that's gonna last a few hours. And this does work, and at the same time, it's not heavy, doesn't take up much space inside of your pack, and they're also inexpensive. With all of that out of the way, let's begin going over the pros and cons in regards to these compressed logs. The first pro is that these are very easy to light. All you have to do is light the paper, and the fire is off. The company claims once you light the paper on fire, the entire log will be burning in 5 minutes. That is not true in my experiences. Not with the premium, not with the regular. More times than not, it takes a good 15 minutes to get the entire log on fire, the entire log to burn. And that's because the log on the inside is very rounded off, it's very smooth, there's no jagged edges. Flames like to attach and burn jagged edges, not smooth surfaces. Because of that, it can take a while to get the entire log to burn. That's if you do absolutely nothing to the log itself. But here's a little tip for you all, and I'll go ahead and open this up so I can show you all what these logs look like. The small logs look just like the larger ones, except they're smaller. You can see here with this tiny compressed log, which is identical to the larger ones, you can see how smooth everything is. All of the corners, the sides. Putting a flame up to this will not cause this to ignite immediately. You will have to have the presence of a flame right on this log for a period of time before the wax melts and the material begins to burn. Again, everyone, that's because this is so smooth. But let's say that you take this stick here and you start scraping up this material. You can see how we're breaking it loose, we're exposing those fibers, we're creating some rough edges. Now, if you were to put a flame on this, this would ignite very, very easily. So without a doubt, these logs are very easy to ignite. In addition, these are going to save you a ton of time. You don't have to go out into the forest, you don't have to drag wood back to camp, you don't have to process it. You can spend more time with your friends and family. You can spend more time doing what you want to do. And that, everyone, is incredibly nice. What is also nice, the amount of heat that these put off, especially when you're using a fire pit like this, a fire pit where the heat radiates 360 degrees. With one log on this fire pit here, the amount of heat output is incredible. And then there's the run time, the burn time for these 4.5 pound logs. They will last, at least 3 hours. For myself, when I'm out on a trip, after 3 hours, I'm pretty much done sitting around a fire. I'm ready to do something else. So it burns, in my opinion, for the turkeys. They're up there on the hill. Anyways, for the 4.5 pound logs, these burn the perfect amount of time. Next, everyone, the heat output when you're burning one of these logs is excellent. But let's say that you want a really intense fire. How do you make that possible with something like this? Basically, once you get this burning, you take a stick, you begin breaking up the material. That will take this from a comfortable fire to a very, very intense and hot one. If you do that to your compressed log, the overall burn time is going to be shorter, but the fire will be much, much more intense. Next, folks, with these being compact, individually wrapped, and lightweight, this is much easier to manage than, say, a bundle of firewood. It's also much cleaner. Next, everyone, once your log is fully on fire, it puts out a very consistent level of heat all the way through, which is not what you would experience with a typical campfire. Different size pieces of wood, different types of wood, varying degrees of heat and light. With these Duraflame logs, it's very consistent and at the same time, very predictable. Not only that, my friends, but once you have one of these burning, they are very much wind resistant. Once they're burning, they're certainly burning. You can put them out with water, but you really do have to be careful if you're not going to fully burn one of these. You have to consider that this waxy material with cardboard and other fibers and whatnot, it is ready to ignite again. Because it's covered in wax, it doesn't take much time for it to dry out, and you can reignite this. This is something that you really should burn all the way through. And before you leave your campsite, make sure that it's burned all the way out. Because if there's a piece left, it can smolder for a long period of time before reigniting. And that takes us over to the next point. These, according to the company, burn clean, they're non-toxic, nothing like that. And with that being said, that pro comes from the company off of their website and the marketing on the package. I personally don't have a way to put those claims to the test, so take it for what it is. As far as the light output goes from these logs, very impressive. These, once they're fully burning, especially in a fire pit like this, they put out a lot of light. So much light, in fact, that you could be standing around your campfire without a headlamp or anything like that. Because at least with this fire pit here, the light is able to shine through the mesh, so you can see the ground below it. You can see the area around you, and that is nice. Next, everyone, these will burn completely to ash, which is beneficial because it makes the cleanup process of your fire pit very, very easy. And that takes us over to the last pro that I have for these logs. Value. Especially if you purchase these in a store, the value is tremendous. But let's say that you're ordering them on Amazon for quite a bit more. You're still getting a product that is going to make your life easier. That's going to simplify your camping experiences when you're out car camping, truck camping, overlanding, and whatnot. Or even when you're out backpacking with these here. These logs, without a doubt, save you a ton of time. And, in my opinion, that's important. That takes us over to the cons that I have for these logs. Everybody. There's turkeys right over there. I told you. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I'm counting at least 8. These are the turkeys that live at Lone Wolf Mountain. I can't say we're friendly. This is about as close as we get to each other, but they never seem to be too scared, which I think is really, really cool. First off, the company claims that these logs produce less smoke than typical firewood. I'm not sure what the company's talking about because in my experiences, that is simply not true. All of these compressed logs, it doesn't matter if it's the regular version, the premium, the small one, they put off a lot of smoke. The smoke itself is really dark and it can leave behind a residue. Firewood, dry firewood, will burn much, much cleaner with less smoke than these. That is for certain. Next, folks, the company claims that these are non-toxic. This could be true, but I will say this. I do not like breathing in the smoke that these logs release. It is very harsh, it makes my throat feel raw, and I simply do not like it. I much rather breathe in smoke from a wood fire than smoke from these logs here. Next, everyone, when it comes to a 6-count package of these logs, they can be quite heavy. Roughly 27 pounds. Luckily, the packaging is designed so that you can pull the logs out one by one. And right there you have it, folks. Those are the pros and cons that I have for these Duraflame logs. For myself, these have become invaluable. Seriously, because of where I live, how wet it is. Oftentimes, I would not be able to have a fire if it wasn't for these. Plus, even though I go camping, overlanding in remote areas, they're still popular areas. And because of that, oftentimes there's no firewood available. There's nothing in the woods. Everything has been picked clean. That is when one of these fire logs really comes into play. It can make your life so easy. And it really can be the difference between having a fire and not having one. So to summarize, these fire logs are awesome. I am very glad that I came across these. They really do make my camping trips and experiences much, much smoother. Plus, they save me a ton of time. Plus, they keep me warm when I would be cold because there's no way to have a fire otherwise. Make sure to comment down below and share your thoughts. What do you all think about these Duraflame compressed logs? I have to say, everyone, I'm very, very impressed with these. And these are certainly a part of my campfire kit. And there's no product out there that has been able to replace them yet. If you enjoyed this episode, please hit the thumbs up. I do appreciate it. Everybody, take care, be well, strength and honor. I will see you all soon. Bye for now.